time in opposition, my time in government, and now, of course, my time as the interim leader of the party. It's something that I believe in very, very strongly as we begin to talk about the issues that come under the rubric of social policy. But understand that the first thing we have to do is to end the silos in our mind and in the way in which governments work, in understanding the connection between social policy and economic policy and what we're doing on the environment. These things are not separate, they go together. That we don't talk about one without talking about the other. I always used to say when I was in government, you know, I would feel that things were getting better when a bank president began to talk about childcare, and when somebody working in a trade union started talking more and more about productivity, which is, I think, increasingly starting to happen. But it's really necessary. It's a really necessary part of the national conversation that the Liberal Party can lead. This is not a matter of one group of people having a monopoly on social policy and another group saying, well, I don't do social policy, I just do economic policy. Well, what is child care and what is early childhood education? Is it a social policy or is it an economic policy? Well, it's everything. It's an economic policy because this is what allows us to develop the skilled talents of a future generation and allows us to put education at the forefront of what we're doing. It's a social policy, obviously, because of what it's doing for children and what it's doing for their parents, and it's a very important social and economic policy for women and for men who need to have additional assistance in terms of providing that support for families. So these things all come together. The second is that what I've talked about again, and something I believe in very strongly, is promoting partnerships. Is understanding that if the federal government is seen as out there dictating or coming in from the outside and saying how things need to be done, that we really don't get very far. That it's really about understanding that the country is not a series of watertight compartments. That the provinces are not doing this and the federal government does that, and they don't even have to meet and get together. Although if you watch the way the Harper government works, that's how they think. They actually think that Canada is a series of watertight compartments, and each compartment has to do its job and just not bother the other compartment. But that's preposterous. Think about what the additional cost has been of the federal changes to the criminal code. Already we've seen an 11% increase in the prison population at a time when crime is going down. And already the provinces are starting to do their homework and say, wow, this is going to cost us a lot of money. We have to build the prisons, many of them, we have to run them. We have to take responsibility for the court structures. We're responsible for the administration of justice under the British North America Act. So we have to pay for these things. And the federal government says, not our problem, we're responsible for the criminal code. The two things go together. They're not two separate things. So we have to really promote partnerships. I'll be talking a lot about this as well. And the third one is a very basic liberal principle. And that is that we embrace change. We're not afraid of change. We can't be afraid of change as a society, as a country. And so when we criticize the government for what they're doing, it's not because we're opposed to change. It's because we don't see the changes being constructive, or we don't think they're taking fully into account the consequences of some of the changes that they're talking about. But we accept and embrace change as the working principle of the life that we are leading as a country and of the world in which we're working.